Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today is August 8th, 2019. In this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. In this video, we're going to do a recap of all of the major mass shootings that have occurred in the past 12 or about 13 months. In my work, I talk about the language of numerology with a primary focus on Gematria. This is the practice of coding numbers into words. And all of these major events, which I contend are false flags, I can't say for sure if they're all hoaxes. However, all of these major mass shootings, particularly the ones that gain massive media coverage, appear to be by what we call the Eclipse crucifixion code. And I will show in this video how all of the mass shootings that have occurred over this past 12, 13 months have all happened by the Eclipse code. In the second part of this video, we're going to look at the same shootings, but we're also going to review the numerology of the local politicians who were in office on the dates of those shootings. And what I'm trying to establish here is how these shootings are not naturally occurring organic events. They are not the result of random people deciding to take a gun into town one day and killing a bunch of people. These are essentially deep state, dark shadow government operations with an agenda at hand. The United Nations several years ago put forth Agenda 21, part of which talks about disarmament. In fact, the United Nations has an office for disarmament affairs. Reading through this page will lead you to believe that they're focusing on things like nuclear disarmament. However, they do have a small arms disarmament commission. And while they're allegedly focused on the flow of illegal small arms, it's easy to see how the infrastructure to enact this plan is already in place. Several years ago, people called us who raised the flag about this stuff, conspiracy theorists. They said they'll never come for our guns. They can't do it. There's too many of them. However, earlier this week, Joe Biden said that he's coming for assault weapons if he's elected president. Now, I've been contending that Donald Trump will indeed get reelected in 2020. It just seems to be how it's been coded all along. And perhaps this is some of the rhetoric that will ensure that Trump will get reelected, because the majority of America is not ready to give up their guns. This operation is not limited to one generation. They will slowly but surely try to change the minds of people over time to the point where they can start getting people to voluntarily surrender their weapons for something like a financial compensation. So this is a slow crawl, and it's something, again, they don't appear to be trying to do right now, but as you see, the rhetoric is shifting in this direction. Plus, a lot of these mass shootings occur at schools where the minds of the children are targeted. And that's the generation that is really under attack here. So this Agenda 21 is real. Ultimate goal of gun confiscation is real, and they're starting with assault weapons, which is why so much focus has been on this over the past year. So here in this post, I'm going to, on the left side of the page, we're going to scan through the deadliest shootings over the past 13 months as ordered here on the page. And on the bottom right, I have another PowerPoint, which is going to look at the basic numerology of all these events and explain how they were all aligned with total solar eclipses, particularly the one in 2019. Now remember, total solar eclipses are very rare events. You only see them occur, roughly, 7 times per decade. And in this video, I'm only going to look at the numerology of 3 different total eclipses. There was the one that occurred this year, 2019, on the date July 2nd. That's what most of these are measured up to. However, there are 2 others, the Great American Eclipse of August of 2017 and the Patagonian Eclipse of December 14th, 2020. So we're going to be a little bit out of order from the left side of your page, but all of these will be covered. So I'll just highlight the ones that we're looking at to help you along. First of all, we start with the most recent mass shooting. This one occurred in Dayton, Ohio, on the date August 4th of 2019. Now you're going to see a recurring theme here. The word eclipse in the standard reduction cipher sums to 33. In the Bible, in 3 of the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, it's said that darkness fell over the sky during the crucifixion of Jesus, who was crucified at age 33. And many historians believe that this means he was crucified under an eclipse. So eclipse equals 33. And if you measure from the date of the 2019 total solar eclipse to the date of the shooting in Dayton, Ohio, you get exactly 33 days. In the reverse reduction method, which is Pythagorean gematria, the alphabetic order reversed, Dayton, Ohio, when abbreviated, sums to 33. Interestingly enough, the name of the shooter was Betts, which equals 33. His middle name was even Stephen, with the PH, which equals 33. Notice how in the standard alphabetic order, the most basic cipher, which uses the alphabetic order numbered 1 through 26, Dayton, Ohio has a value of 102. Now, if you measure from the date of that same shooting, which was on August 4th of 2019, back to the Great American Eclipse, which happened on August 21st of 2017, this was a span of exactly 102 weeks later. The next shooting we'll look at is the deadliest on this list. This occurred on August 3rd, just one day before the Dayton shooting. So if you include the end date, this shooting also occurred 33 days after the eclipse, which again equals 33. The shooter this time was named Patrick, whose name in reduction also equals 33. Now, if you do not include the end date, the shooting was 32 days after the eclipse, and El Paso, with the S exception, equals 32. Without the S exception, El Paso equals 23. The date numerology was 8 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9, which sums to 23. When you write out the number 33, you get 156 and 141. Both of these numbers have an ordinal value of 226. 226 is the Jewish gematria of El Paso. However, like we mentioned, the word eclipse equals 33. And the 33rd prime number is 137. Now, using the standard alphabetic order, El Paso, Texas equals 137. This also happens to be the exact same as total eclipse, 137, the 33rd prime number. You'll also notice that in Jewish gematria, El Paso, Texas, sums to 722. 227, the inverse, is the Hebrew value of total eclipse. Also, the state of Texas equals 69, just like the word eclipse in ordinal. The next shooting we'll look at took place in Aurora, Illinois, back in February. From the date of this shooting to the date of the 2019 total eclipse is 137 days. And as I just mentioned, 137, the 33rd prime number, total eclipse equals 137. This shooting occurred on Governor J.B. Pritzker's 33rd day in office. The name of the shooter, who was 45 years old, Illinois equals 45. The name of the shooter had matching reduction gematria with J.B. Pritzker, also the state of Illinois, which is 54 in reverse. The next shooting we'll look at just occurred a couple weeks ago in Gilroy, California. Measuring from the date of this shooting to the 2020 total solar eclipse is a span of 16 months and 17 days. And in Jewish gematria, Gilroy Garlic Festival. The location of the shooting sums to 1617. This measurement is also 72 weeks and 2 days, again, mirroring the Hebrew Gematria of total eclipse. Furthermore, the name of the shooter, Santino William Ligon, sums to 303, a lot like 33, the eclipse number. The shooting also occurred on the date leaving 156 days in the year. The phrase false flag equals 156. This is also the Hebrew value of the word eclipse. And look at the value of false flag. 33 reduction, 69 ordinal. These are the same numbers in the word eclipse, 69 and 33. So doesn't it make sense that these false flags are aligned with eclipses? And then once again, the 156 in Jewish, this is the Hebrew value of eclipse. The next shooting we'll look at was in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. We were told that one person was killed and 11 were shot. New York equals 111 in ordinal. Measuring from the date of this shooting to the next total eclipse was 506 days. This was also 56 months before the 2024 eclipse, which passes over the state of New York. The name of this festival that the shooting occurred at was called Old Timers, which equals 56 in reverse. Now, the 56th prime number is 263. And using the alphabetic order, Brownsville, Brooklyn equals 263. The next shooting we'll look at was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Here was another big one. This was the second largest so far this year. And isn't this interesting, guys? The biggest shooting occurred a span of 33 days after the total solar eclipse. The second biggest shooting in Virginia Beach, Virginia happened a span of 33 days before the same total solar eclipse. So we mentioned how the one that happened 33 days after was in El Paso, Texas, which equals 137, the 33rd prime. The one that happened a span of 33 days before the eclipse was in a neighborhood called Princess Anne. And see how Princess Anne equals 137 also. You'll also notice 463, 187, and 70. Total eclipse, also 463, 187, and 70. If you don't include the end date, this shooting was 32 days before the eclipse. The name of the shooter was Dwayne, which equals 32. His last name was Craddock, which also equals 32. Also in the state of Virginia, within a week of that shooting, we had another shooting in the city of Chesapeake, Virginia. This shooting was 38 days before the total eclipse of 2019. Chesapeake equals 38 in reduction. This is the value of moon in ordinal. 38, the number of death, murder, and killing. All of those words sum to 38. But what's most interesting is that the 38th prime number is 163. And in the alphabetic order, Chesapeake, Virginia equals 163. In Highlands Ranch, Colorado, there was a shooting at a STEM school on May 7th. This was a span of 1 month and 26 days before the 2019 total solar eclipse. Using, again, the alphabetic order, still the most basic cipher here, Highlands Ranch equals 126. Now, the date was 5/7, which was also a span of 57 days before the total solar eclipse. And the shooting was at a STEM school, which equals 57. 57, also the value of the word moon. You'll notice that moon in reverse equals 51, the same as stem. And May 7th this year had numerology of 51, 5 plus 7 plus 20 plus 19. Another shooting we'll look at happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, this does not have particularly interesting alignments with the solar eclipse. However, the riddle is pretty clear. In reverse reduction, solar eclipse equals 73. This is a number of sacrifice, 73. Ritual sacrifice equals 73 in reduction also. This shooting was on a date with full numerology of 73. Carolina equals 73 in ordinal. The University of Charlotte was established 73 years before the shooting. Campus equals 73, so does campus lockdown. And this school, their nickname is the 49ers, which equals 73. Now, the mayor of Charlotte, her name is Vi Lyles, which sums to 73. She was in office for 73 weeks on the date of the shooting, and she was a span of 7 months and 3 days after her birthday. She was the mayor of Charlotte, which equals 367, in Jewish Gematria, the 73rd prime. The next event we'll look at took place in Sebring, Florida. This shooting was 74 weeks after the Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Total solar eclipse equals 704 in Jewish Gematria, also 74 when reduced. Sebring equals 74 in English ordinal, 74 weeks after the eclipse. The name of the shooter was Zephon. His name equals 74. This was also 160 days before the 2019 total eclipse. The phrase active shooter equals 160 in the alphabetic order. Now, Sebring also equals 43, the city of the shooting. The word killing equals 43. The state, Florida, also equals 43. Finally, Sebring, Florida equals 403. And the date of this shooting had 43 numerology, 1 plus 23 plus 19. There's a lot more with this shooting as well. I mean, if you look at the date numerology of 36 and 18, that's just like SunTrust Bank, 36, 18. The name of the shooter, Zephon Xavier, sums to 63, which was the other date numerology. Back in November of 2018, we had a particularly important mass shooting in Thousand Oaks, California. This shooting was 236 days before the 2019 total solar eclipse. Using the alphabetic order, Thousand Oaks, California equals 236. Notice how in English Gematria, this sums to 1163. Well, 1163 is the 192nd prime number. And this brings us back to Jewish Gematria and the word eclipse, 192. The date numerology also matched the word shooting. Thousand Oaks, California had one more alignment with the word eclipse through the Francis Bacon and Satanic methods as well. Another shooting that occurred in 2018, in the month of October, happened at a synagogue in Pittsburgh where 11 people were killed. Notice how in English Gematria, this cipher, using the current alphabetic order, the numeric structure based in the ancient Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsephy charts, Pittsburgh synagogue shooting equals 2,710. And that's really interesting because the date of the shooting was the 27th of October, or 27/10. 271, by the way, is the 58th prime number. Pittsburgh equals 58. Pittsburgh, PA also equals 58. This shooting fell a span of 433 days after the Great American Eclipse. Solar eclipse equals 433 in Jewish Gematria. If you instead convert this same measurement to months and days, you find it was 14 months and 6 days later. Pennsylvania equals 1406 in Jewish Gematria, 14 months, 6 days after the eclipse. The same measurement is also 1 year and 67 days, with the end date included. Pittsburgh, PA equals 167 in the reverse alphabetic order. The name of the shooter, by the way, Robert Bowers, he had matching gematria with both Active Shooter and Squirrel Hill, which was the name of the neighborhood that this synagogue was in. Speaking of synagogue shootings, we had another one in the city of Poway, California, in April of this year. The date that I have to fix here on my blog. Sorry about that. So this shooting occurred 2 months and 6 days before the 2019 solar eclipse, with the end date included. In reduction, Poway equals 26. In that same method, total solar eclipse equals 67. Including the end date, this shooting was 67 days before the total solar eclipse. The name of the shooter in this story, his name equals 67. Now, 67 is the 19th prime number. The shooter was 19 years old. And in Gematria, Poway equals 19 in reverse. By the way, this was also 67 days after the local baseball team signed Manny Machado to the largest contract in baseball history, and the name Manny equals 67. So the world of news and sports always scripted together. Another note is that the city of Poway was 2,002 weeks and 1 day old on the date of the synagogue shooting, which equals 221 in the alphabetic order. Now, this one was a little over a year ago, but it was a major mass shooting. In Annapolis, Maryland, in June of 2018, we had the Capital Gazette shooting. Remember, 5 employees of a newspaper shot and killed, allegedly. That shooting fell exactly 311 days after the Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Annapolis equals 311 in Gematria. Annapolis, Maryland equals 72. The date had 72 numerology. The name of the city also aligning with the number of days in the year as of June 28th. Next, we'll look at the shooting in Dayton, Ohio. And we actually looked at this one to begin with. And what we're doing now, first we looked at the alignments to total solar eclipses and how those made sense. Now we're going to look at the dates that local politicians took office for all of these same shootings. And we'll look at alignments here and show how this riddle continues to be consistent through all of them. First of all, we start with Dayton, Ohio, where the mayor was Nan Whaley. Mayor Nan Whaley was born in the year 1976. Her name in Jewish Gematria, Mayor Nan Whaley, equals 1976. On the date of the shooting, she was exactly 15,900 days old. Mass shooting equals 159 in ordinal. She was also 6 months, 12 days after her birthday. That's interesting because the shooting occurred on the 216th day of the year. Dayton, Ohio equals 126 in ordinal. And the state of Ohio was 216 years old when this occurred. In reduction, Mayor Nan Whaley equals 67. This is the same as total solar eclipse. And on the date of the shooting, she was in office for exactly 67 months. Total solar eclipse equals 104 in reverse reduction. She was sworn into office on the date 104 in the year 14. This also ties into the governor of Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine. His name equals 104. He was in office for 202 days on the date of the shooting. Total solar eclipse equals 202. So does Oregon District, the location of the shooting. We'll see this number again in another alignment later on. Now, think about this. The Dayton, Ohio shooting on August 4th. The mayor of Dayton was in office for exactly 2,038 days on the date of that shooting. The day before, in El Paso, Texas, the mayor of El Paso, D. Margo, was in office for 2 years and 38 days. And this is, of course, a moon number. The moon is an average of 238,000 miles from the Earth. Of course, you can round up to 239. All you would need to do is include the end date in these measurements, and you also get 239. By the way, the mayor of El Paso, his name is D. Margo, which sums to 68. El Paso equals 68, same cipher. Mayor D. Margo equals 211, and he was in office for 2 years, 1 month, and 1 week. There's another alignment with his Francis Bacon Gematria. But really, this 38 over here is very significant. In office for 2 years and 38 days? Well, the shooting was on the date 3/8, the 3rd of August. Remember, death equals 38. El Paso, Texas equals 38 in reduction. As far as the governor of Texas, I pointed out how Mayor D. Margo equals 211. This is the Gematria of Mason, 211 in Jewish. 211 is the 47th prime number. The Masonry compass set to 47 degrees. Well, check this out. Governor Greg Abbott also sums to 211, another Mason. His full name, Gregory Wayne Abbott, has 223 Gematria in ordinal, in Jewish, and in the KFW Kabbalah cipher. 223 is the Hebrew value of the moon. It's also the 48th prime number. Greg Abbott's the 48th governor of Texas. The Latin name for the moon, Luna, equals 48. And look how old he was on the date of this El Paso shooting. 3,220 weeks and 3 days. So here you have the Gematria of the moon, both forwards and backwards. Next, we'll look again at the shooting in Aurora, Illinois. Now, the mayor of Aurora is already a numeric riddle. This is the first black mayor ever in Aurora's history. Now, the numbers 42 and 59 are stamped on black people by this code. The word Negro equals 59. So does slave. Think about blues equals 59. Motown Records founded in 59. This guy is the 59th mayor of Aurora, and he was sworn in on the date 5/9. So already this guy is a coded agent. His name is Richard C. Irvin. In the reverse alphabetic order, his name equals 215. The date of the shooting in Aurora was 2/15. In the alphabetic order, Mayor Richard C. Irvin equals 208. The 208th prime number is 1283. And on the date of the shooting in his jurisdiction, he was in office for a span of 1 year, 283 days. And as mentioned earlier, the governor of Illinois, this was his 33rd day in office. The 33rd prime is 137, and that's how many days it was until the total eclipse. which equals 137. Next, we'll look at the Gilroy, California shooting. The mayor of Gilroy, California is Roland Velasco. This incident here is an order out of chaos ritual. What you're looking at on the screen is Masonry's emblem, or one of them. This one says Ordo ab Chao, which means order out of chaos in Latin. And notice how the number 33 is at the center of this emblem. 33 equals 141 in reverse. The mayor of Gilroy, his name is Roland Velasco, which equals 141 in the alphabetic order. On the date of the shooting in his jurisdiction, he was in office for a span of 2 years and 220 days. Order out of chaos equals 222. It also equals 75. Roland Velasco equals 75. And if you look at the governor of California, this shooting was 75 days before his birthday. The governor of California is Gavin Newsom. Governor Gavin Newsom has matching 257 Gematria with total solar eclipse, 257. And on the date of the shooting, he had been in office for 202 days, which is the ordinal value, again, of total solar eclipse. The next shooting, the Brooklyn, New York shooting, again, this one was not did not measure up that well to eclipses. Remember, we had another shooting a day later that did. But the riddle here is that New York turned 231 years old the day before the shooting. Festival shooting equals 231. This is the 21st triangular number. Festival shooting is 201 in ordinal. The shooting in Brownsville was 1 day after New York's anniversary. Brownsville and anniversary has the same gematria. Next, we'll take another look at the Virginia Beach shooting. And the riddle here is pretty interesting. Now, on the date of the shooting, Mayor Bobby Dyer, who is the mayor of Virginia Beach, had been in office for 192 days. Remember, 192 is the Jewish value of eclipse. Now, in that Jewish cipher, Mayor Bobby Dyer equals 1506. Remember, this is the gematria of false flag 156. In Hebrew, eclipse is 156. This is because an eclipse always occurs 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases after a previous one. The riddle here is deeper. If you include the end date, Bobby Dyer was in office for a span of 193 days. 193 is the 44th prime number. Bobby Dyer equals 44. Shooting equals 44. The word kill, 44 in ordinal. This means he was also in office for 6 months and 11 days. Virginia Beach shooting equals 116. On the date of the shooting, we were being told 11 dead, 6 hospitalized. Next, we'll look at the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam. He had been in office for a span of exactly 72 weeks on the date of the shooting in Virginia Beach, which equals 72 in reduction. This Virginia Beach shooting was a big one. Remember, this was 33 days before the eclipse. Mayor Bobby Dyer equals 170. That's the Jewish value of moon. Governor Ralph Northam equals, what is this? Sorry, his full name, Ralph Shearer Northam, equals 218 in ordinal. This is the Hebrew value of the word moon. Moon has matching gematria with city. This was a city building. City municipal workers were killed in this shooting. And just before the shooting, Ralph Northam turned 21,800 days old. And this shooting occurred the same week as a shooting in Chesapeake. In English gematria, Chesapeake equals 218, just like the word moon, just like Ralph Shearer Northam and his age. The Highlands Ranch, Colorado shooting, this was the STEM school shooting. Notice how with the S exception, Highlands Ranch, Colorado equals 119. The governor of Colorado had been in office for 119 days. 119, the value of Eclipse crucifixion code, which is what I'm dispelling here. Fraternal Order of Police, the secret society that's running these false flag operations, also equals 119. There was also a riddle with Jared Polis's age. He was 16,066 days old, so there we have the number 666. His name has gematria of the product of 6 times 6 times 6, 216. Of course, 216 is a moon number because the moon is 2,160 miles wide. And the name Governor Jared Polis sums to 223, which is the Hebrew value of the moon. A week before that, there was a shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina. The governor of North Carolina is Roy Asbury Cooper III. Notice how his name sums to 119, and the shooting in his jurisdiction happened 119 days after the anniversary of him taking office. The shooting was in Charlotte, North Carolina, which, when abbreviated, equals 119. The campus went on lockdown, which equals 119. And this was the shooting with the 73 riddle we looked at earlier. Remember the mayor, Vi Lyles, equals 73. I won't go over all of this again, but the riddle was clear. Then we had that shooting in Sebring, Florida. Now, this shooting was on the date January 23rd. I cannot find the date that John Scoop took office. This guy was elected mayor by a board, and it's just unclear. But notice how his name, John Scoop, equals 123. The police chief of Sebring, his name was Carl Hogland. His name also equals 123. This is the number of conspiracy, 123. Now, in the reverse alphabetic order, the police chief's name summed to 174. This is the gematria of false flag, 174. The name of the shooter was Zephin Zaver, which equals 1704. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, was 15,174 days old. And his name was Ron. He was in his 16th day in office. The next one is the Thousand Oaks, California shooting. This is another city where I have a difficult time finding the exact date the mayor took office, so I can't measure to it. I think this was Andy Fox, who was he was the mayor 6 times or something like that. But the riddle here is really clear. This shooting occurred on the date November 8th. Now, granted, it was still November 7th in California. It was just about a half hour before midnight, so in most of the world, it was 11/8. And Thousand Oaks and Malibu, both situated on the 118th meridian west. The words death and homicide equal 118. Of course, the 11th of November, a date we're all talking about this year. But what's more interesting about this is that the same day as this shooting, within 24 hours, we had the Woolsey fire in Malibu, which destroyed a lot of that community. And think about it. Homicide equals 118. The fire was on 11/8. Well, the homicide code is 187. And on the date of this fire, the city of Malibu was 10,087 days old. The mayor of Malibu, his name is Rick Mullen, and that equals 118 ordinal. Back to the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. The mayor of Pittsburgh is named William Mark Peduto. His name equals 256 in the reverse order. He had been in office for a span of 250 weeks and 6 days. The governor of Pennsylvania, his name is Thomas Westerman Wolf, and his name equals 2506, just like the number of days the mayor had been in office. 250 weeks like the ordinal Gematria of Thomas Westerman Wolff, 250. This shooting, by the way, was also 256 days after the most recent synagogue shooting. Or should I say before? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the two synagogue shootings were 256 days apart. Let me look this up. I'm saying something wrong. Oh, it was 256 days after a shooting in Parkland. So remember, we had the shooting in Parkland where the Jewish kids were in Holocaust class. Then we had a shooting at a synagogue, where more Jews were worshiping. And these two shootings were separated by 256 days. Next, we had another synagogue shooting in Poway. The shooter was 19 years old. Poway equals 19. Shabbat, the name of the synagogue, is 19. Chaos equals 19. The mayor of Poway, his name was Steve Voss, which equals 109. I could not find the date that he took office. This shooting was actually a riddle related to the mayor of San Diego, which Poway is a suburb of. And if you read my post on this Poway shooting, you'll actually see how this is clearly a riddle around Ernest, played by Jim Varney. And that sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but it's clear as day when you see the news stories that were released prior to that. And this post thoroughly explains the connections between the character Ernest and this shooting. Then I think finally we'll look at the shooting in Annapolis. This, again, was the Capital Gazette shooting from June of 2018. And this was a clear tribute to the Charlie Hebdo shooting. Remember, Charlie Hebdo was a newspaper in Paris, and there was a big shooting there where a bunch of cartoonists got killed. And this was similar. We had a newspaper shooting in America. And think about Charlie Hebdo. Charlie equals 56 in ordinal. The governor of Maryland, his name is Larry Hogan, which equals 56. He was born in the year 56. This shooting was at Capital Gazette, which equals 56. In fact, Capital Gazette newspaper equals 263, the 56th prime number. And well, I hope this PowerPoint was still on the screen most of the time. I think it was. Anyway, the date numerology matched Hogan, the governor of Maryland. The shooting was on the 179th day of the year. Hogan had been in office for 179 weeks, or 41 months. These are all prime relations. He was a month and 3 days after his birthday. There's one more interesting alignment here. The mayor of Annapolis, Maryland, is Mayor Gavin Buckley. His name, Mayor Gavin Buckley, equals 204 in ordinal. This shooting was on his 204th day in office. The mayor was exactly 20,230 days old. Remember, the moon equals 223, Masonic 223. This is also a span of 2,890 weeks. The Masonic motto, Ordo ab Chao, equals 289 in English extended. Okay. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. If you contributed some finds of your own, I appreciate it. Again, the goal of this video was just to show you how all of these mass shootings are being coordinated, how there's a code lying behind them. And the implications of this are not good. They're a little bit scary, in fact. What this means is that there's a group of people that are carrying these operations out. Whether or not these shootings are hoaxes or if they're real, I don't know. I do know they use crisis actors on the news. That's without a shadow of a doubt. People pretending they knew people who died, people who say they were at the venue when it occurred. That's fake. We know that. We don't know for positive that all the shootings are fake. Some of them certainly seem to be. But ultimately, the real problem here is that these shootings are occurring by the numbers, by this code of Gematria. And although I had all these ciphers up on the screen during this decode, you saw how prevalent the alphabetic order was. Also, the reduction, the Jewish ciphers, these are definitely the most important. And again, the implications, these things are being carried out on purpose. And it's not like, I could sit here and I can absolutely 100% guarantee that this will continue. And it doesn't make any sense. This only started happening over the past several years. One mass shooting after another. This myth of white supremacy, white nationalism. This is exactly what Tucker Carlson said. And I don't know if Tucker Carlson really believes it or if he was paid to say it. But he did say that this white nationalism thing is a hoax. And by and large part it is. These groups are being funded. People, we are in an age where people have never been more connected through things like social media, Facebook, and all this. And people who are depressed or sad have never had easier ways to find friendship or to find people who have similar interests as them. So the fact that mass shootings are exploding in quantity makes absolutely zero sense because, again, humanity is as connected as ever. So you're only going to see this get worse. You're only going to see more and more shootings, and they will always be by the Eclipse code. We can call this right now. We will continue to see politicians come out and call for more action. And while they're just starting with talking about assault weapons, we will continue to see them push further and further and further. They're boiling frogs in hot water. That's what they're doing. They're just hoping that no one jumps out of the water. But what I'm doing is jumping out and sounding the alarm because this agenda to ultimately disarm the population is absolutely real. And it might be years away yet, but they are definitely pushing it. And the first person who came out and outright said that assault weapons should be illegal, I mean, granted, other people have said this, but not any big-name politicians. And of course it's going to be Joe Biden, who, without a doubt, is one of the most compromised men in Washington. This guy is a creep. He talks to children as if they're sexual objects. And I have no doubt in my mind that this man is a sexual offender who is being held hostage by the global elites, using him as a pawn in their agenda. It's not Biden's agenda to take our guns. It's the global elites. And his head is basically hanging on a string by the elites. So this is pretty disgusting, and we're going to continue to see it, We lost almost 35,000 people to cars in America last year. But how many articles are the mainstream media running suggesting that we should be getting rid of cars? Well, they might tell you that cars are important. We need cars. Cars help the economy. Well, and that's exactly it. Cars help the economy. They help the global elites stay in power, make more money. Guns, on the other hand, what are the purpose of guns? Well, if you read the Constitution, the purpose of guns is safety, freedom, liberty. The global elites are not interested in that. And that's why, despite there being so many fewer gun deaths than car deaths, they are on a nonstop roll to try and stop people from buying more guns, to try and convince us that guns are evil. That's another good point. 900,000 abortions in California alone, and I believe that. And you can say what you want about abortions, but what I ask people who support abortions are, when did abortions start? When did this idea of killing a baby inside your womb, when was that okay? And for all the women who say, oh, it's my body, you're paying someone else to do that abortion. And if you're not paying for it, the taxpayers are. So we're in a messed up world right now. And, we're seeing this pan out. So, you're seeing the agenda clear as day. And those who don't see it, you got to be asleep now. Hopefully, this code of Gematria can help some of those who are asleep wake the fuck up and see that their rights are being attacked, they are being violated, and ultimately the elites would, well, they'd rather have a lot less of us. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks, everybody, for sticking it out and seeing all these undeniable alignments. I think this is one of the more important videos I've done. Granted, it's a little longer than it should have been, but the information here is clear as day. All right, guys. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you probably some point over the weekend. Please take care of yourselves. And if you feel like you have an opportunity to share this work, please do. Because, again, the internet's not doing us any favors. This content has faced censorship, and we need your help to awaken the masses to what's happening. All right, guys. Peace, love, God bless. And let's continue being warriors against this New World Order agenda. Adios.